Hello, everyone, and welcome to Retire with Clarity. I'm your host, Paul Gebhardt. My co-hosts today are John Lawton and Stewart Fields of OpenAir Advisors. Welcome to the program, gentlemen.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Paul.
It's good to have you with us today.
Yeah, we're excited to be here.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk a little retirement planning for the good folks of Dallas, aren't we?
Yes, sir.
We're going to have a good time. Good 30 minutes.
Okay, so I'm going to kick this off a little bit unconventional because I like folks to know the people they're working with.
Okay.
So first of all, tell me how you guys became certified financial planners and what made you choose that path.
You want me to start, Stu?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great. Well, I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. I'm from Dallas.
Born and raised.
Born and raised. My dad was a Dallas police officer. My mom taught in a small private Christian school for years and years and years. Retired there in Dallas, actually in Waxahachie in South Dallas.
Okay.
If you remember 2008, do you remember 2008, Paul?
Yes, I do.
If you started with 2008 with a dollar in your pocket, you probably ended it with about 50 cents, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
During that time, I worked for one of the big box banks. And at that time, I was covering not just one metro city, I was actually covering two, so Dallas and Houston, traveling between the two. And really saw the market and the crash of the market that year and decided there had to be a different way. There had to be a better way to do business. And so decided that I wanted to be the best at my field, and so went back to school. I did night school. SMU has a program there in Dallas, and I did night school for 2 years, becoming a certified financial planner. So
that's good stuff.
That's my story for
I love it.
being one.
Yeah, looks like you're doing it for the right reasons too. Yeah. And likewise, I always liked working with people. I was always kind of gifted with numbers growing up, and my first job was actually in 2008. And boy, was I really excited. I was like, man,
you're ready.
I was very excited. This is pre crash, and I was like, well, I'm going to learn so much. Little did I know, my job for about 9 months was answering the phone, people calling, yelling.
Putting out fires.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, during that time, and the volume of phone calls also with a bigger firm, is I had to do something with my hands. And so what did I end up doing? A Rubik's Cube. And I got pretty gifted at it. Less than 30 seconds, pretty good.
At least that's one of us.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And I almost, later in the show, we'll probably talk about this, but I think retirement planning is almost like a Rubik's Cube.
Good analogy. Yeah.
You're looking at one thing, but it's really sometimes unknowingly changing something else. So that really made me realize, like, I'm just answering some basic questions. What's really missing is the comprehensive nature of helping these people in a bigger way, like how to reduce taxes. And so as I was learning about the industry and how do I teach these people, become a certified financial planner was basically kind of hitting me right in the face. Like, you have to do this. This is kind of the best interest for the client. And like John, I also went to SMU to allow me to become a certified financial planner. So ever since then, I love the puzzle. I call it a Rubik's Cube basically every day because that's what planning is. It really is.
And it's fun, isn't it? It's fun solving issues for people and letting them see the hope side, right? The delivery side when you solve a problem for them. I wanted to ask you this because I know retirement planning has changed. What retirement planning was yesterday versus today is very different. How so?
Yeah, and I looking at the folks that come into our offices every day, in the past, whenever someone came in, you had big pensions, you had big Social Security, and between those two, it was really the employer's responsibility for your retirement. Today, that's very different. With the introduction of the 401k, we're in a situation now where it's the employee's responsibility to be able to build this financial plan for themselves, to contribute to those plans. Hopefully, if they're lucky enough, the employer is giving them a small match to help out with retirement. But really, it's their responsibility today, adding to these accounts, these 401ks, 403bs, 457. I mean, there's a laundry list of numbers of numbers or of acronyms of these different kinds of retirement accounts. But really, the big change that we have today is employer's responsibility versus employee. And so now it's your responsibility. What are you going to do? How are you going to plan for your retirement? Because no one's going to do it for you anymore.
Absolutely. One thing that kind of stimulated that was really the big market run-up. All these companies had pension plans, and they had these lifelong liabilities to these employees for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And so these pensions became overfunded. So they were offering buyouts and lump sum pensions and things like that to pass the responsibility from the company to the employee. And that's become a really large problem or issue that we enjoy solving every day, because now what do? Now the onus is on you to take care of this. Look at the market, look at all the changes going around with you. So being a CFP, being a planner, we love taking that kind of large, comprehensive look at everything.
Interesting point that you guys are making. You're talking about the control factor, right? The way it was before, who you relied on in the past. The government, your employer, or you. Who can you rely on the most? And today, it has to be you, right, John? I mean, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, it absolutely has to be you, because there's nobody that's going to do it for you. One of the things I think is really interesting in today's day and age, we've seen a lot of folks with COVID, and a lot of folks have been at home for the last year,
right?
At home for the last 18 months, and they've gotten a taste of retirement, right?
Yeah.
And so probably most of the calls that we're getting today, the time that I'm spending today, are people coming in and saying, John, I got a taste of retirement. Do I have enough? Can I retire?
Really?
Yeah, we're seeing it a lot. I work with a lot of hospital executives. I work with a lot of nurses and doctors, and it has been a rough year for those guys, and, they have done really great work.
An amazing job. Where would we be without them, right, guys?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And they've done an amazing job and done a ton of work.
Yes.
And a lot of those folks, especially if they're up, if they're close to that retirement age, if they were thinking about retirement and they were close.
Yeah.
Right now, the calls that I'm getting are, I thought it was 5 years. I've just had a crazy last year. Can I do it?
Yeah.
Do I have enough? And so that's the question we're answering for a lot of folks these days. It's a fun question to answer. The best thing that happens is when somebody comes in and you do the full financial plan for them, and you get to say, whether you retire or not, it's okay. Paul, it's okay. If you go in tomorrow and it's just too much, you can turn it off. You don't have to go back in. You can retire. But
isn't there beauty in the options, gentlemen? I mean, that's what you're talking about. To have that option to show up to work and go, yeah, I want to be here, or you know what? I actually just really want to be someplace else. Right?
Absolutely. I always feel like there's a difference between working because you have to or working because you want to.
That's so powerful.
And I think that's one thing I enjoy teaching people, is showing them, Mr. and Mrs. Client, you can afford to retire right now. So now when you go to work, you're going because you have to. And it really kind of lets the shoulders go down. And like, and they feel confident with their plan. The fact is, if we go into a pandemic or if a lot of things change internally, like, I don't have to do this anymore. So clients have to have the confidence first. So working with the right firm, working with the right advisor who's constantly communicating with them, giving that information, is the only way they're ever going to feel secure and confident about their plan. And that basically is kind of what OpenAir is about, is we want to give them the confidence to keep up with the changes, reduce their taxes, and make sure that, no matter what happens, that they come from a good, safe, comfortable spot.
I love that. That's an incredible outlook, and I love that perspective. But I understand today, Stewart, you guys have an offer for the viewers of Dallas. Would you share that with everybody out there for me?
Absolutely. So for everyone who comes to see us, we offer our complimentary Clearpath Retirement Guide. And with this, you're going to get an extensive look into your actual financial picture. How much risk are you taking? How much money can you spend? And more importantly, with all the tax changes upcoming, are you on path to pay more taxes later in life when you probably need the money the most? So I encourage you, if you're listening tonight, if you're watching the show, please call us, 844-333-6059.
And again, that's completely complimentary, right, guys?
Exactly.
And I've seen firms charge upwards of $1,500 for consultations like these. Right?
You're exactly right. So we'll go through the process, no matter if it takes 1, 2, 3+ meetings, because we really need to understand basically your full picture before we can even get down to the recommendation phase of anything.
Good stuff. Stewart and John have set aside times they've invested in you. They're putting time and resources into you. The question is, what will you invest in you? You heard John say it. It's your future. You're the one in control of your pension. You. This is your business of retirement. So you have to take the action. I can't do it for you. I wish I could, but I can't. That's your job. Pick up the phone, give them a call, 333-6059 and take advantage of that complimentary comprehensive review, a written plan in your hand, something you can count on. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have. By running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back, everybody, to Retire with Clarity. I'm your host, Paul Gebhardt, and my co-hosts today have been John Lawton and Stewart Fields of OpenAir Advisors in the greater Dallas area. Guys, you have offices in multiple locations, if I ain't mistaken, right?
That's right. Yeah, we do. I think that's one thing is being accessible. We've got 5 locations around the DFW area.
Wow.
So going north, south, east, and west. So really want to make it convenient for, to come in and see us and really kind of get the information that you need.
You had mentioned in the previous segment, we were talking about retirement planning of yesteryear versus today. And you brought up some excellent points about bonds. Share that, would you, Stewart?
Yeah, so really when we start looking at the interest rate environment that we see, so a lot of times I speak to people who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, they've done a good job accumulating wealth. And one thing that they might be doing is something that their parents or their grandparents taught them. And that maybe be the old 60-40 approach. And what does that mean? Well, 60%, if you ever hear that term, is equities. 60% goes in equities and 40% would go into bonds. So that approach right now probably isn't a large approach that you should be taking on a day-to-day basis because of the interest rate risk. And what I mean by that is, let's look at bonds. So if you're putting 40% of your money into bonds, so let's say you have $500, or let's say you have $1 million, and you go put $400,000 into bonds, what happens is when interest rates go up, the prices of those bonds go down. So that's a large chunk of your money that's tied up to an asset class that really hasn't performed very well for the last 10 years. So we're answering a lot of questions, basically, what do I do with that money? I understand it's an inverse relationship between the value of my bonds and interest rates. And then you look on the other side, stocks. Stocks are very risky right now because we hit 50 all-time highs this year, coming out of a global pandemic.
Crazy.
Crazy to say, right?
Yeah,
It's just absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So both of those numbers basically are taking a different type of approach of how do we create the income for you so you know where your paycheck is coming from, you know the paycheck you get when you retire. So is how do we do that in this type of world? So it's taking a kind of a different approach basically in a rising interest rate environment. So definitely need to be paying attention to that. Rates kind of started going up 2 years ago and then went right back down. So what can you do best to really alleviate the different environment we're in right now is really, really important for a lot of people.
Just thinking about that, when I was very early in my career, again, I worked for one of the big box banks, and talking about bonds and where interest rates were, I started my career in 2003. Graduated from Baylor and came right back to Dallas and was working for one of the big banks. Now, I'll never forget, I had a client come into the bank, and she was concerned about the level of interest that the bank was paying. We used to collect bonds and actually pay the interest at the teller window. And one thing that was interesting, she was coming in and she was talking about how interest rates were down. And I'll never forget, my mentor that was just in the office next to me said, "John, really what she's not complaining about the interest rate. What she's complaining about is the income that she receives from that interest rate, because she's living on the interest of those bonds.
Yeah, right.
And now when you look at it, just like Stewart's talking about, in the past, you could build that 60-40 portfolio, and guess what? The yield or the income that you were going to receive from that 40% of the portfolio most likely was going to be enough to keep your portfolio afloat when you have the ups and downs of the market.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a portion of the market that you could rely on to pay you month after month after month. Look at bonds and where they are today. And I would encourage the clients, look at your bond portfolio, or look at that portion. If you don't do it, if you need help, call me and I'll do the analysis for you and show you exactly the level of income that you're getting from that portion of the portfolio, to give you the knowledge. To, again, when we talk about the responsibility, right? It's your responsibility now.
Yeah.
It's your responsibility to know your portfolio, know what's inside of it. And if you don't, then you need to have a trusted advisor or someone, a fiduciary advisor. Stewart and I are both certified financial planners, which means that we're fiduciary advisors. What that means is we have to do what's in your best interest. And looking at the overall portfolio, looking at that fixed income or bond part of the portfolio to know what level of income that you have. More importantly, the level of risk that's hidden inside that. We always think that that's the safe place. In a low rate environment with the potential of rates go ask 10 of your friends. Do you think interest rates are going to go up, or do you think they're going to go down?
Yeah, right. No, that's right.
There's only one way for them to go. So
Yeah,
it's an easy answer.
From where they're at right now.
We're at the bottom.
Yeah,
so
exactly. How much further are they going to go down?
I don't know that they can.
Yeah.
And knowing the how they react to that when interest rates do go up, there's a lot of folks that have a hidden risk inside that portfolio, and we can show it to you. We can give you options and solutions for that.
Okay.
But more importantly, help you understand. Most folks are concerned about the equity risk, the stock risk inside their plan. Market's gone straight up. I'm worried about that market going down again. A lot of folks are not looking at the amount of interest rate risk that's in the portfolio as well. There's solutions, there are alternatives, and that's something that we help a lot of our clients with.
And jumping on that, not to name names, you're talking about a big box store. About 9 out of 10 portfolios I see are still built in this way. So some of these points might seem obvious. Like, well, of course that's the way it works, Paul. Yet every day we see portfolios that are still built 10, 20, 30 years ago. It's like, and you talk to them, they're like, well, yeah, I need to make a change. So it's really strange how we have these conversations, and if you're looking at it, the information's out there. Yet every day we see a portfolio that's still not really built around this. Or worse, they compound the problem. They realize what John just said. This 40% of the portfolio isn't giving me the interest that it used to. So what do I need to do? I need to get more of it.
Right.
And that's called chasing yields, what I like to say. What happens is that can bring on a lot more risk. You might chase dividend-paying stocks, and now your principal's at risk.
Right.
So it really takes an approach to learn, one, how much income do you need? What tax bracket are you in? And what are your goals 5, 10, 15 years down from now? And then how do you plan on leaving a legacy? So that will really all come in to say, how do we build this portfolio now? But I'll tell you something, we'll give you some really good answers, but that could change 6 months from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. So you don't want that plan gathering dust. You want an advisor who is looking at you, looking at your plan, and keeping up with the things that's changing literally every day around us. We're in a global world. I don't think stability is a word I'll be using anytime soon.
Boy,
so,
no kidding.
So making sure you're working with a firm who's communicating and making sure your plan's adapting. That doesn't mean day trading by any means.
Right.
It means keeping up with the large kind of macro changes that's happening around us every single day.
Right. We're coming up on another break. Would you do me a favor and remind everybody out there what you're offering today if they call in?
Yeah, absolutely. What we're offering is a Clearpath retirement guide. What's included in that guide is a portfolio x-ray. What we're going to do is look at your portfolio and understand the level of risk, whether that's equity risk, market risk, is that interest rate risk. We'll actually pull out the level of fees that you're paying. There's a lot of folks today, they're spending a lot of time with costly mutual funds with 12B1 fees and expense ratios that they are not aware of. Let's let them know, let's give them the power to understand exactly what they have inside their portfolio today. Let's look at your taxes and your income. Let's build an income plan for you. So many people have built so much in their 401k, the old, I'm going to make less money in retirement really isn't true. So we have to build a tax plan that's going to go with you through retirement. And we'd love to do that for anyone who calls our show today. The number is 844-333-6059. That's 844-333-6059. Give us a call today. Let us go to work for you and build that full Clearpath retirement guide for you today.
That's great. And again, that's complimentary. That's the most important part of this. They're willing to invest in you. They're taking the time and the resource to invest in you. You have to invest in you today. How is change going to happen if you don't start the process of the change? Where are you? What questions do you have about your retirement? When was the last time it was reviewed? How comfortable have you been as you planned your retirement? And do you know for a fact it's going to be there for you when you need it? 844-333-6059. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back, everybody, to Retire with Clarity. I'm your host, Paul Gephardt, with my co-host today, John Lawton and Stewart Fields, well, OpenAir advisors, right? Guys, listen, it's such a powerful, powerful subject about the importance of people being engaged and involved in their personal pension plans, their retirement plans. That stuff is vital. How many times, here's something I would think. How does a person actually know when they can retire? How do you know that?
Yeah, and I'll take this one, Stu. We recently, I had a client that I've been working with for about 6 years. Know the family very well, and in fact, he's a director at a hospital down Arlington Memorial, which is in Arlington, Texas. There by the stadium and Six Flags and all that good stuff.
It's a good place to be right now.
Yeah, great place to be. But he's working in the hospital, and this has been a really challenging year for him. And he came in about 6 months ago, and he says, "John, I gotta know. I need to know if the worst comes and I just cannot. I go in and I can't do it. Do I have the option? Can I retire?" And so we ran the numbers. We worked on our Clearpath retirement guide. Went through levels of risk, income that he can expect, built a Social Security plan for them and how that's going to work, tax plan and how that's going to work, and came to the conclusion that, you can retire. So the next day when he went into work, he knew that he could retire. You know what, Paul? He didn't do it.
Really?
No, he didn't do it. And his wife didn't do it. His wife could retire as well. He made it about another 30 days.
30 days?
30 days. He calls me, he says, "John, I can't go back in." I said, "That's fine. That's fine. That's what we've been preparing for." And so we turned everything on. The interesting part is, I got an email from him, and I had to kind of play with him a little bit. I get a call from him, or an email from him about a week ago, and he says, "John, you're not going to believe this. My wife is retired, and I found another job." So he's been in the hospital community for years and years and years, and actually one of the people that he trained is now a director of another hospital. And he's going to work and mentor a lot of the people. And it's in a more rural area, but he's going back to work, and they're going to be able to extract the knowledge from him. And that's what he wants to do. And he doesn't, it's one of those situations, he's working a day or two a week. He's helping this hospital. He's really doing something that he's passionate about.
I love it.
And does he need to do it? No. Does he want to? Yes.
Yeah.
And that's,
That's awesome.
if
dude.
you're sitting in a job and you're thinking, man, I don't want to go to, having the power of not having to be there can give you the freedom, can give you the other opportunities. He would never have this opportunity unless he made this decision. It's a real fun. It's great
John,
working with the family. It's fun having those situations come about because now he has the freedom. Now he has the power to take over his retirement.
John, I confession there, that story gave me the chills, brother. That's a great story because you hit something that's poignant there. The word freedom. We say the word freedom, we're not talking about a political side of anything. We're just talking about your life, your time. And when do you feel free? When your time is 100% yours again, so that you can give back. And I know that meant something to this gentleman, to be able to mentor and to pass on that knowledge, right, to future generations. That's a powerful story. It's an incredible story. And so, look, what you're doing, whatever you're doing, is what you're doing now. But what do you want to do, and where do you want to go? I got to ask you guys this. How important is it for someone to get a second opinion?
It's definitely, going back to just what John said, where else can you get that relationship? You got to look at yourself and say, well, it's my advisor, do what John does. Does he empower? Does he give the confidence? You were talking about being stressed. You cannot be stress-free if you're not organized.
Right.
So you have to work with someone who helps you get organized, helps you stay on track with all these things. And so really, you don't really know until you don't know. So
that's
go
right.
out there and get a second opinion because going back to what we said on previous segments, things have changed.
Yeah.
And that's plain and simple. So, and the sad part is this, the company, the advisor's not paying the getting hurt by that, the client is. So that's really why it's really important to go out there and get a second opinion. You might be doing the right thing, but you don't know until you go talk to somebody else.
Well, we've come to the end of the show, guys. And listen, would you do me a favor and remind everybody out there what you're offering if they call today?
Yeah, come see us. Really what we're offering today is our complimentary Clearpath retirement guide. And with this, it's over 60 pages of packed reports that goes over your portfolio, goes over what we call an X-ray. What is it invested in? Let's stress test the portfolio. We just experienced a big market correction last year, but what if the market didn't bounce back? You need to know those answers, and we're in a position to help you address those issues that could be happening in the future. So call us 844-333-6059.
And again, that's completely complimentary. No man is an island. It's about relationships. Who do you trust with your financial destiny? Do you have questions? Pick up the phone and call these guys. 844-333-6059. We want to thank you for being with us. Be well and enjoy your retirement.